Welcome back to the show. This is your host, David Yanez, and we're here on Midwatch TV with a good friend that I met on the radio today, Miss Eleanor Gustafson. Did I mess it up again?
No, you did it right.
Oh, right. How you doing, darlings?
I'm fine, thanks.
She's written the book called Dynamo, and we're going to check this out in just a second. But we just want to talk briefly about what we talked about earlier this morning and how you got your interest into writing. And I believe you told me that your mother said keep with the music.
Yeah, right. She wasn't impressed with my early writing.
Well, we're glad she's wrong because I read your book, The Stones, the Chronicle of I believe of King David,
King
and
David, yes.
that was from what I've seen all the reviews and all the press releases for that, and that was something that was called as almost like a biblical scholarly of sort for your repertoire.
Yes, I wanted to make him come alive and to be real, and not just cover the bones of history
Oh
instead
yeah.
of flesh.
Oh, absolutely. So, how did you start writing?
Well, I've been making up stories all my life, and the Dynamo story was actually one of these that I had made up earlier, and I sort of picked it out of my brain file and looked at it and saw that it had potential, and so I went with it for that. And I've had a love for horses all my life too, so this provided material to work with that I was capable of carrying my passion for God.
And tell us about some of the characters in your book.
Well, the three major characters are God, who is the subject, Mabel, who is the verb, and Jeff, who is the object. I've tried to counter the common perception of a God who exists only to serve each person's needs, rather than the all-powerful God who is greater than our mind and heart, and perfectly free to reveal himself where and when he wants. That's a quote from Henry Nouwen.
Oh, absolutely. Now, these three characters are intertwined throughout the entire book, and one of the characters is Dynamo as well, right? That's a character.
Well, oh yes, Dynamo. Well, he's part of the setting. He's a character, all right. Jeff is the main protagonist, and he's a man's man. He's real, and he has rough, gritty edges both before and after his conversion. And he knows horses, of course,
Yeah.
but his passion is the sounding dynamo. He's passionate about God, too, but the Lord's unusual activities in his life just scare him to death. Mabel, she's something else. Piece of work. She's an old lady in the church. She loves Jeff and walks him through the spiritual minefield of God's unusual activities in his life. Even before Jeff becomes a Christian, she somehow knows that God has chosen him for a special purpose. And she draws on Old Testament prophets and feeds him passages that strike terror in his heart and bolster him in critical moments.
That's amazing because you look at the characters out there, and I understand that there's a lot of people that have been reading from cover to cover on this book. It's been very insightful for some, and I read some of the reviews on it. That one guy said he started reading it, and it was a review posted on Amazon, and he started reading it, decided he's going to go to bed, but he kept thinking about the storylines and said, I got to get up and finish reading this book, and he decided to get the book, and not till 3 a.m. did he finish the entire book. That's impressive in itself in one night to get it all done.
That's amazing that men
Very true.
Are really liking this book. There's enough for the action and drama to keep them very interested in the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, from just reading the reviews, I could tell each of them had something else, and they were all drawn by the character and about this very burly man and burly man coming in and going through life. And I bet a lot of them could probably identify with him working for someone that was like I believe Mr. Wingate, and seeing that kind of atmosphere that they have to go through. So you touched something because not many men read novels.
I'm not hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You touched on something very strong there with this book.
Yes. Jeff before he became a Christian, he had a serious problem with the blood issue.
Hmm.
He didn't like that at all. He was calling it cannibalism and all this sort of thing. And so it took an unusual action of God after he had trouble even after he was a Christian, and it took an act of God to make it click and turn on in his head.
Oh wow! Tell us a little bit about the story, so people, so viewers can understand it.
Okay, Jeth is the one of the main characters. Of course, it's on 3 levels. The one level is the horse and high stakes world of horse shows and stable intrigue. Another layer is the good, bad, and ugly of human relationships. But the bedrock layer is this sovereign God who just interacts with Jeth in very unusual ways. And Dynamo is a horse. He's a 5-gated stallion with a nasty disposition. Most horses have 3 gaits: walk, trot, and canter or gallop. But 5-gaters have 2 extra gears: slow gait, which is a fast walk and very smooth and comfortable for the rider. And then there's rack, a fast, slow gait, if that's possible. And it's flashy and spectacular, and it shows the animal at its best. Dynamo needs a lot of training before it can be shown, but that work has to be done in just spare time because his real job is training show jumpers for competition in horse events. So that's the basic setting of the novel.
Okay.
The good and bad of the horse world. But Jeth's boss is a Christian, and Jeth is not. But when his girlfriend Janny slaps him really hard after he refuses to go to bed with her, the door of the kingdom suddenly opens to Jeth. And from then on, God begins to work. And Jeth finds God to be unsettling and unpredictable. But his friend Maybell serves as interpreter in this foreign territory. So basically the story is God in your face. Who is he really, and what does he ask of us?
That's amazing, because we're sharing on the radio program about a lot of us tend to are comfortable about putting God in a little box.
That's right. Yes.
But this story takes God out of that box and becomes the God of Daniel and Ezekiel.
That's right. Yes.
and that's pretty inspiring, because people need to know that God can intervene at any time in anyone's life, because He's God. He doesn't He doesn't need to be given permission to. He doesn't need to be given this is the formality. If He wants to stop in someone's life and change it,
yes,
that's his ability to do so.
That's right. And we're better off for having this obedience to God, the God who asks things of us. He does not ask things that he cannot provide for us. So.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, what audience were you trying to reach when you put this book together?
Well, the book is geared for adults. I would say from mid-teens on up. It's not there's not a lot of profanity or anything like that, but it's intense drama.
Okay.
Subject matter. Might not understand that, but Christians will get the most out of it. The gospel's lined out clearly, and the drama moves fast, and it speaks to men as well as women. There are elements of mystery and suspense and romance for those sorts of readers, and everyone tells me it's a page turner. The book would be especially good for a discussion starter in a book club. And the big question would be, can or would God do unusual things in a person's life today? And I've gotten some pushback on that. The Latin phrase Deus ex machina means the God who swoops down magically and pulls strings. I don't think I've done that. I've tried to show God as totally sovereign and able to do what he wants in a person's life. In Scripture, God sometimes does bizarre things like making a donkey talk, but I haven't portrayed that sort of activity. This is a more palpable and consistent process of molding a servant to enable him to do extraordinary things.
Miss Ellie, would you tell them exactly where they can get this book? They can pretty much get it almost bookstores, Amazon, places like that?
Christian bookstore, Barnes & Noble. You can go online, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, CBD, the Christian book distributor, And they all have books for sale.
Okay.
And you can post reviews on any of those as well. And if anybody wants a signed copy, go on my website, which is www.eleanorgustafson.com. ELEANORGUSTAFSON.com. And I'd be glad to sign a book and send it to you.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, it's very good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, we adventured through Skype with you, so now you know you can do these. These are awesome.
Oh, man, this is my first experience with Skype.
All right, we'll be back. God bless.